around you is all I see. Is what I want to do. You want to stay together, loving you well. Times are good, bad, happy, sad,
Okay, just so you know, I recorded that, a little bit of that for the recording, so we get some of the music in there. I have 3:09, so we'll give it another minute before we start. Okay, we have 3:10, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm Loma Hodges. I'll be moderating this session. And for those of you who just joining us, you may have caught some of our mood music going before the session started. This is going to be probably the most interesting session at the conference, I would venture to say, because we've got all kinds of media to extend our metaphor here for making a Tinder for Sakai. So today we have Neil Caden and Tricia Gordon presenting. Neil is the Sakai Community Coordinator, central point of contact for the Sakai community. He has 15 years of higher ed experience and even more years than that in technology and project management, plus a burning interest in community and collaboration. And Tricia, I'm sorry I don't have a bio for you, so I don't know if you want to introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness, did I forget to send you a bio? Oh,
yes,
goodness.
Well, I forgot to ask for it. So
that is fine. I'm happy to introduce myself. Thanks, Wilma. So yes, I'm Tricia Gordon from the University of Virginia. I'm the director of UVA Sakai implementation that we've branded as UVA Collab. I lead a team of 6 developers and 3 support staff. We're running Sakai, or have been running it since 2005 for collaborations, and adopted it for courses as of fall 2009. So we've been using Sakai for quite a while. We're currently on Sakai 10.2 with many of our own customizations, plus selected feature enhancements and bug fixes from later releases of the Sakai 10 release. And we're looking forward to upgrading to Sakai 11 next spring. So I'm very excited to be here with Neil, and I think I'll turn it back over to you now, Neil.
Okay, great. Thanks, Wilma. Thanks, Tricia. So we're going to get started here with this puzzling title of Making a Tinder for Sakai. And Tinder is a dating app, mobile dating app, and it has a metaphor of, it uses this interface where if you like something, you like a person's profile, you swipe right. If you don't like the person's profile, you're not interested, you swipe left. And we're going to kind of extend this metaphor throughout, and we'll explain a little bit later on about how we're going to do that. So we'll have a real interactive part of the presentation. And we divide it into basically 3 parts. The first part is Sakai marketing, because that's what this is all related to. How do we as a community promote Sakai? Why is it important to promote Sakai? And what have we done so far? And that's the first 15 minutes or so of this presentation. And then the second part is going to be a lot more interactive. So we're really going to try and invite you in to participate in finding characteristics that might make you want to swipe right on Sakai. And then we're going to have a third part, which is the final wrap-up of trying to reflect on our conversation and see if there's anything what we can get out of it. So Tricia, I don't remember was I going to start on this one, and then you're. You know,
I think I'm starting on this one.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So
this is your slide.
We can remind each other as we go. All right. So just to introduce what we're talking about here, this is kind of our first date, continuing on with this metaphor for the Tinder app. Really, the Sakai marketing really got started at last year's Sakai camp, which was the first Sakai camp I ever attended, and I'm really glad that I did go. It was probably one of the best things I've ever participated in the Sakai community. And out of that camp, the group of people who were there developed ideas and plans for marketing Sakai. And we formed a group called the Sakai Marketing Group, which is open for others to participate and join. We meet bi-weekly currently, although, Neil, I think you said something about changing the frequency of our meetings, but in any case, we have been meeting bi-weekly. And out of those meetings and conversations, we've come up with a lot of really good ideas and actually produced some successful, tangible results, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. So I guess, Neil, do you have anything to add?
No, I think that's a good start. Yeah, we're thinking of moving to just once a month meetings, and maybe and then blocking out some time for working groups, because we tend to have smaller groups that actually produce the materials that we're going to share with you here in a second. And for some people, especially, we have representatives from institutions where, there are people that are really hard pressed to meet that frequently. So maybe if we push it to a little less frequently, you'll get better participation for the high level discussions, and then have other ways of doing more of the dirty work and detail work. So we'll move on to the next slide. So as Tricia mentioned, this is an open group. It's primarily a working group, meaning most of the people who are part of it, we encourage everyone to participate, but we're also okay with people who just want to sort of monitor what we're doing and what we're talking about, and that way potentially you could jump in. We have 23 people on that working group, and over half of those, I would say, have been active in some way, shape, or form since the group's inception earlier this year. And so if you want to, it's not one of those groups where you can self-subscribe, so you do need to, ask to be on it, but most likely, if you're in the community, we will be glad to have you be a part of it.
So, how do you market open source? And that is a big question that we've struggled with. We've even had some schools in the Sakai community who have actually had courses, faculty who have had courses and had their students sort of examine how to market Sakai and how do you market open source. The challenges are, there is no marketing staff. That's right. It was Texas State and Marist. That's right. Thank you, Neil. We have no marketing budget, and one of our biggest challenges that we're trying to overcome with the marketing is people who don't know what we have to offer. So we're trying to come up with meaningful messages and ways of reaching folks to build awareness of Sakai and what it has to offer and what this community has to offer. So those are some of the challenges that we're facing, and I think we have come up with some really good ideas so far, but by no means are we done. So we'll talk, as I said, we'll talk about some of those examples in just a couple of minutes.
So why market? And I think this was one you were also going to talk to, Tricia. We could both talk to it if you want, but go ahead and I can jump in.
Okay. Yeah. So exactly. One of the questions, besides the challenges that we're facing, is why do we bother to market? I think the last bullet there is, in my mind, the biggest reason why I think it's important for us to market, and that's to build awareness and interest in Sakai. and also bring in new, fresh ideas about what we can do and what we should do, what directions we should go in, bringing in new talent and diversity to our community and to our code, and also adding resources to the community and what we're doing. So, and among the challenges for marketing is reaching decision makers who might be looking at LMSs, and how do we do that? So, I don't know if any of you, as we're talking, I hope you will be thinking about these questions, and if you have ideas as we're going along, please go ahead and start posting those in the chat, because this is built on community ideas.
So some of the things the marketing group has accomplished is a new website. So if you look at the before and after, the before was a very nice website in terms of it was attractive, but there was a lot of information on it, wasn't really focused, and it didn't really tell you what Sakai specifically was about. The new one for Sakai 11, which you can go to at www.sakaiproject.org, quickly brings you into the world of Sakai and sees the beautiful new interface. That's where our video is prominently featured, a wonderful video with over 5,000 views, and highlights of some of the key really attractive features of Sakai. So that was one of the big wins out of the process of the marketing group, was that redesign of the website. And that happened very fast. It was pretty impressive. And it was also in collaboration. So we had, in addition to the marketing group, and especially Kyle Blythe from NYU, we also had help from our content manager, Michelle Hall from Hallway Tech, and Spherical Cow, who is our programmer that Apereo often uses. And it was a great collaboration. And then we have a brochure. So you could actually download, if you wanted to give somebody an overview of what Sakai is about. We also created this brochure. It's available on, if you look sideways, sakaiproject.org/features, and it's a way that you could, either send somebody an email or print something out and show it to somebody, something tangible to show what Sakai is. And that's something we use in old brochure, Unicon. Great. We're very grateful they're part of that team, and they said, here's a brochure we were used to use, and so we just tried to update it quickly so it would highlight some of Sakai 11's needs. We recognize that it's a little more technical than maybe we want, but still pretty great to have something tangible that folks can download and use to promote Sakai. So those are a couple of the tangible things.
So some other marketing efforts that we've done include the Sakai 11 press release that you can see for yourself right here. Because, as you know, we've been working very hard on getting Sakai 11 ready for release, and it did release in early August. And several schools have already upgraded to it. This is an accomplishment with the responsive design and other features that came with Sakai 11 that are worthy of spreading the word. So we focused quite a bit on creating opportunities and ways of doing that. Another thing that we've discussed, it hasn't really gotten off the ground yet, is the Ambassadors Project. And the idea there is, could we find folks who are willing, who are already using Sakai at their own schools, who would be willing to be ambassadors if they're aware of somebody, in a nearby town, another school who is considering LMSs, to go and talk to some of their colleagues there to, talk about all the good features of Sakai, all the good reasons why, how it is used at our own institutions, and so forth. And so that's another idea. As I say, it hasn't quite gotten off the ground, but it's something that we think is worth exploring. There was the Turn It Up to 11 Twitter contest, which was a lot of fun. probably didn't have as many participants as we might have hoped, but for those who did, I mean, there was a contest winner, and I think there were several categories, and I don't remember what they all were. Do you recall, Neil, off the top of your head?
Yeah, we had the first several tweets, the people who tweeted early, and then we had basically, ones for promoting Sakai and for humor, and things like that. So
I think there might even be a winner in this session right now.
Yeah, I think we got a couple of winners in this session. So
yeah, one of the more awesome things that came out of the marketing effort was the Sakai 11 movie that Kyle Blythe put together. And if any of you attended the trivia contest at lunchtime, maybe some of you remember how many views that video has had. Anybody care to recall and type that into the chat? Very good. So Wilma is exactly right. Mariana, you were close. Yeah, I don't know, Wilma, was there a link to a consolidated Twitter feed for the there was, and it was it was hashtag turn it up to 11, hashtag Sakai project, I believe. Is that right? Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess you could still see those by going to the hashtags, turn it up to 11. $5,844 views now. I wonder if that increased since lunchtime. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, we're at 15 minutes, so we can move on. But these are just some of the other awesome marketing efforts that we have done so far.
So that is to share with you. So that's I think it's been a really productive group. It's a lot to get done in less than a year. I mean, to get an updated website, a brochure, a contest, just all those different things, a movie. It was very productive. And so now we're kind of moving into more of an interactive part. So extending the online dating metaphor of what's our pickup line? What's the most effective message to provide to folks to make them at least give Sakai some consideration and realize that we have something here to offer, and maybe you would want to go on a date with us and get some coffee.
Or we might be scaring you away. Who knows?
We might be scaring you away because dating is a scary metaphor, and choosing an LMS can be a scary thing too.
Absolutely,
right.
It's
so
big deal.
Yep, it's a big deal.
So we're gonna kick off here with what we want to call a Tinder interactivity moment. So we're going to present some slides of some characteristics and qualities of Sakai, kind of like a dating profile of someone. And so Neil's going to do some polling as we go. So it'll be just a yes and no poll, but the idea of the Tinder metaphor is that you swipe to the right to, like or keep that attribute as something that you like, or swipe to the left if you don't. So we're just going to use yes and no because that's what we have in the poll. So yeah, we're going to look at profiles we could emphasize when promoting Sakai, and we'd ask you as we're going through these, if you're not just so taken with everything that we've presented, to be thinking of other qualities and attributes that resonate with you for our conversation a little bit later.
Yeah, and we're also going to try and kick off some conversation about those attributes and see if it brings up other ideas or related ideas that might be, might be interesting or of value. So we really see this as more of kind of a fun game that we're playing with you, and that we also we're hoping will stimulate some discussion. And I see a lot of you are in, listen only mode. So you're welcome to. Type in the chat. We'll monitor the chat. And I see Alex wrote, maybe we must focus on promoting the things that makes us different. Like it's not 100% learning focused, most open framework. So that's great. That's a great idea, and hold that because we're going to come back and kind of do a wrap up, and that might also connect with some of the attributes that we're about to explore. So here we go into our Tinder dating profile aspect of
Get
Sakai.
ready.
Get ready. Here we go. Our first one coming up is this one. This is adaptable. Adaptable. So adaptable and extensible and really easygoing, always very happy to extend with new apps. This is a good match for teachers, administrators, IT people, students, schools wanting more tools who aren't fools, which is a made-up rap song I made up. I probably should have gotten a real one. But an integration type, it's about making it easy to plug in other things, making Sakai very flexible. So thinking about it, I also think empathy is a really important quality to think about that. So in other words, think about it not only from your own perspective, but from the perspective of faculty members, from the perspectives of IT, from the perspective of CIOs, and from decision makers. Think about it from their perspective as well. How important, is this an important attribute you'd swipe right on? So I'm going to do a little poll. Yes means swipe right, we'll keep it, and no means we would not, that wouldn't be that exciting to our campus community. So start voting and give you 10 or 15 seconds here.
You said yes means swipe right?
Yes means swipe right. We want to keep this attribute. This is something we want to use and promote Sakai because we think it will connect with different people.
All right, so just ignore the fact that the yes is on the left.
Oh, is it on the left for you? Oh, that's funny. I can't see it from my view. It doesn't show it that way. Yeah, click the poll button. Okay, a C. C is good. All right, so let's publish it. So 5 seconds. More. Not a yes, huh? All right, so publish. So this did look like everyone who voted, and most of the people voted, that adaptability is something that would connect with decision makers and with users. So I don't know if there's any other aspects of adaptability that you all think are important that we should discuss, or if we should move on to the next.
I think we should.
Okay, well, hold on just a second here then.
So
I can queue up the next one.
That's right.
Let's see if I can get this going. It'll just be 5 seconds, all right? 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, and then I have to reconnect. Skip. A little bit of technical challenges here. And here we go.
See, for my love, love's going to leave.
Yeah. Woo! All right. And the next one coming up. Here you go.
Is Rez Ponzy DeZine, also known as responsive design. Check him out. He looks good from all angles and dimensions, and he knows it, which is especially nice for students who are glued to their phones to have responsive design, right? Hopes and dreams for this attribute. It's an easier workflow to find out about deadlines and submit assignments. So yeah, you know that we have worked super hard on building responsive design into Sakai 11. And the big reason that we did this is so that people on all types of devices can have a good experience using Sakai. With some potential goals of, building in more features for displaying and seeing your deadlines and submitting work, etc. So let's go ahead and vote on this one and see how. Always says students at Oxford are not keen on doing submissions via their phones. Well, that's interesting because a lot of our students have said that's what they want to do.
So let's just give it another few seconds here. for the voting. So please click yes if you think this is important to attribute responsive design or mobile, or we can discuss it, or no if you don't think this is something that connects with your users or your community at your institution. So just a couple more seconds. The vote is from Campus Decision. Yeah, I want you to kind of put on, you know, that maybe this is a maybe one. I see from the chatting. Yeah, we want to think about it from different roles. So your own role, students' role, instructors, decision makers, IT. That kind of is a challenge because it might be split. So just vote if you think this would be something that connects for you. This is kind of the Tinder thing of, you know, yes, we want to keep this attribute, this one we want to promote. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this now. And it's interesting because this is a 3-2 split. So we didn't get as many votes and the votes were split. So this is something that maybe, you know, even though we see as a community how important it is, maybe it's something that doesn't connect as much with stakeholders at your institutions. Or maybe there's
maybe
one. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It could just be assumed that that is built in. So I think it's a big deal for us because we've worked so hard on it to make this happen in Sakai, but perhaps decision makers would not even, you know, question whether it was there or not there. I would think they would assume that it might be already there. Just a thought.
Yeah, I think calling it responsive design may not convey what it actually is to the people either.
Oh, that's a good thought. That's a good point. What do you think there is another
Sorry, I kicked myself out of that.
Because everything you're talking about here is, you know, is you know, improvements for mobile. It's more
mobile friendly.
It's mobile friendly. That's really what responsive design is driven for. It's like it looks a little better on a PC or laptop, but it looks really better on mobile, and it's driving the push toward mobile. So you say responsive design, but what does that mean? It's that's why.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
absolutely. We got to use the language that's going to be meaningful to people. Yeah, for sure.
I think the first slide, adaptability, that's completely clear, and everything on that makes sense. This is kind of not quite as clear.
Quasi. Yeah. Well, good. That's good feedback. Next.
Ready for the next one? Okay, here we go. Next one coming up. All right. Get pumped up now. Uh-oh, I lost my... Wilma, can you give me presenter permissions? Oh, here, I can do it. This is Open Schwartz. Woo! Open source. Yeah, very exciting. Gem of a guy, really strong. Loves to build up core from awesome code from all corners of the globe. So about building community, serving institutional needs, and just being open. So there's a favorite books. There's a famous book I really need to read called The Cathedral and the Bazaar, one of the most famous books on open source. There's even a Sakai courseware management, probably a bit out of date. So, so how much does this, with that whole open source concept or different aspects of the open source concept connect with you, with your institutional thought leaders and faculty and yourself? Do you have like a value at your institution that open source is important or not?
Should we vote to see?
Well, yeah, I was just sort of trying to see if we had a little discussion, but yeah, we can go ahead and vote and see. Because I think there's maybe other ways, sort of like with responsive design, maybe there's other ways of phrasing it. So let's go ahead and vote. So just off the top of your head and empathizing with others and thinking about your institution, institutional values, et cetera, is this one where you'd swipe right and say, yeah, this is an attribute we want to emphasize, or no, this is not one that will really connect with people? We'll give you 15 seconds to vote, and then we'll discuss.
Yeah, I think I'll vote. I think saying open source is like, it can be kind of ambiguous, like you're saying too. It's like, you know, open source, but there's also the FA open source. So it's, a FOSS-PN source. I don't know how they say it like that. It's not the
open source.
Full open source. It claims to be open source, but it's not open source, and that's what some other products out there that that have their source code available. They're not entirely all.
That's
open.
right.
So that's kind of like.
We won't mention names, but we all know who they are.
We all know, but yeah, it's like so. But is it important? It's like everybody's going to say that one of the big reasons you're switching or you're using a product is because you want the open source, you want the source code available. But is it, there's different kinds of, when you say open source, it's different.
Right, but it also could be a values thing. At some schools may really want to embrace the open source nature of Sakai because it fits with their values for academia and innovation, etc. And kind of owning and having a real part in the evolution of something. Well, that's true, Mariano.
Okay, go ahead, say that. What was that?
Mariano says a lot of people think open source means free, and they don't get to those values. So it's probably important to draw that connection if we're going to promote open source, to make a connection to the values that go with it, that we think go with it, and that it is not free.
I agree. I think we need to do open source, but maybe with not just say stop at open source, but talk about what are the values about open source and community and control. Although, and I think it's not just free like in Puppy. I think it's free like as in freedom, right? It gives you a lot of freedom and control. But we do need to, there was a big outage at UC Davis who are transitioning from Sakai to UC Davis, and Sakai got a lot of the blame unfairly, but we need to somehow not over promote it. Like, we need to let people know they still need to think about their contingency plans and how they own the data and how they can, run through potential problems they might have and risks they might have. So open source doesn't solve every problem, but there is a lot of control and there is a lot of freedom and and there's the huge essence of community. So I think there are a lot of like those pieces that we need to sort of hit. So open by itself is not sufficient, I think.
Right.
Sorry for chatting, but I think about that a lot. So.
No, I agree. Did we vote? Oh, yeah, we already voted.
We did vote, and it was 5 yeses and 2 noes. And I don't know if we want to vote again. And if anyone's, we don't have to vote again. But it's interesting that there were some noes there. I think that is telling that maybe open source directly doesn't connect, and we can talk about that later when we do the wrap up.
So I think we have about 9 minutes left, right?
Okay. Yeah, we have about 9 minutes total. So we're going to have to maybe just do one more. We knew we wouldn't get through all of them. We had a bunch of slides here. So how about we do one more and then do the wrap up? Okay.
Okay.
So here's the next
good.
One. All right.
Puppy source.
All right, man. Now it's time to jam, right? All right. And the next one is.
This is collaboration. Collaboration. Who likes to cultivate the exploration of visionary ideas and cooperative endeavor.
It looks like, and it does seem, doesn't he look the reggae? He looks reggae, right?
Yeah, totally. And I'm glad Duke and hopefully the rest of you are enjoying this as much as we enjoyed putting together. It was, it was a little bit of a risk going with the monsters, as we like to call them, but it's fun. So I hope you think so too. So collaboration, making things better in the world, fixing bugs, innovating new features. I mean, as we heard Dr. Chuck say in the morning panel, that innovation is probably the most important aspect of what we do. Favorite music, Black Eyed Peas, I've Got a Feeling, or Bob Marley, Jammin' that we were just hearing. And favorite thing to do, enjoying unexpected surprises, such as the generation of ideas. That's what innovation is all about, kind of unexpected surprises and ways of looking at things and thinking of things.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I admit that was one I put in because that's my experience of collaboration, actually, in this community. It's also my experience of collaboration in other communities I've been part of. Improv is kind of a hobby. It's my experience there. I've been a member of a co-housing group, which is intentional community. It's my experience there. So when people get together and collaborate, my experience is almost always that there's unexpected ways things go. And in a way, I think that's really, really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is one of the big joys of our community, I think, is the way we can work together to accomplish good things, sometimes great things. So let's vote.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and vote. We'll vote on this one, then we'll skip to the wrap-up since we just got a few minutes. So how important is, again, collaboration in terms of connecting with you and connecting with your, your stakeholders, or however you want to think about it. We'll give you just a few seconds here. Give it 10 seconds more. And I see Fawe wrote, open-minded and collaborative, great community. That's very nice. Thank you, Fawe. Okay, so this one we had 6 yeses and 0 nos. So it seems like there might be a little more energy around, emphasizing the collaborative nature of it. And I think that could be true.
Ooh, we are the world. That's a good suggestion.
That's nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, we are the world. That's a great one. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, for like the super collaboration songs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one.
Well, that's all we thought of, and he looked like reggae to me, so sorry. But that is a good one. So yeah, because we only have 5 minutes, we're going to skip. I'll show you the slides we had come up with. We won't go through all of them. I can share my playlist. This is Kissable or Accessible. Was one we had. Another one was Count Attributor, how important is contribution and how much does that connect with you? This is one I love, CSS Lewis, so cascading style sheets, the ability for instructors to control, like their lessons pages. I will share the music. I'll do a blog post and I'll share the playlist. But we just got a couple minutes here to kind of reflect on things, which we wish we had a few more minutes to do that, but, and we've sort of touched on it in this discussion, like what other attributes resonate you and how does that connect with like Sakai's strengths and how does it connect with Sakai's weaknesses? So for the next few minutes wrapping up, we're just curious if any new stuff came up for you in terms of, we should definitely emphasize some other attribute about Sakai. I think you mean.
You're
Bingo,
right.
Touche.
I think some of you needed to help us with this.
Yeah, we totally. If we had more of a collaboration on this, it would have been even better.
Maybe we should have a monster contest.
Oh yeah, great idea. And we could put Neil's and my heads on some of them.
Okay.
Whose idea? That's great.
I kind of feel like we should have done that at the very beginning, had little monsters with our heads on them. But oh well, we ran out of time for things like that.
We did.
Excellent.
We in the morning panel session, I know there was a lot of energy around, people were getting excited about lessons and specific things, the developers in the community, the people, the networking, the conversations and the collaborations. LTI. Oh, I just got it. Excellent. LTI. That's another one. Not just attributes, but actual things like the lessons tool. I know a lot of people are excited about that tool, its evolution, what it makes possible. But yeah, are there other things that I think you guys are just having too much fun with our metaphor now.
We are talking about the Y and USPs.
What are USPs?
Yeah.
It's a unique setting point.
Unique setting points? What's that?
if what is unique about Sakai and why Sakai is different and
Unique
Unique
selling point.
selling
Unique
points.
selling points. Oh,
Yeah.
gotcha. Unique selling points.
I
Yeah.
heard Unix setting points.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's a very good point.
I missed a little bit about the openness because here is nearly 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. and I had a bit technical issue earlier. I want to make a quick comment about openness, open source.
Please.
It is one of the probably unique selling point for Sakai as well, but it is quite hard for the outsiders, the people not in this community to understand why open source is so important.
Yep.
And for the majority of our users, like students and staff, actually, it is not an easy concept to get message across. So yeah, that's why
That's an excellent point. And actually, I think it's totally like Duke ran a computer science class, Robert Duvall, Professor Duvall over there in the summer with students to contribute to Sakai. And it was really amazing talking with the students, because I think you're right. It's like it dawned on them as they're going through the class and they're going, oh, I get what this is about. Oh, and I can see why this is cool. But if they hadn't had that specific class, they may not, they probably wouldn't care at all, and they wouldn't necessarily know what it is. So I think that's a really, really good point. As we're thinking about these words, those different audiences might care less or more depending on who they are, and how do we make them want to care, and get them curious about it. And so Duke CIT writes, the actualization of open source seems to resonate as the ability to influence the product for some. Yeah, I totally agree that influencing and control, and that influence part I think is really huge as well. And then once people get involved in the community, it seems like, and if they really get engaged, it seems like the community itself becomes a value, but that's really hard to communicate out. But if they say, oh, we can control things and we can influence things, and they get involved and start doing that influencing and get part of the community, then that becomes a really huge thing. Sakai is not as popular as Moodle.
Stating it in the context of influence, that's an important keyword, I think.
Yeah, and it's a differentiator from Moodle as well. And I think, I'm guessing from the Moodle community, even though I'm sure it's a cool community in its own way. So I see we're out of time, and I want to be respectful of that. Trisha, did you have any final words?
Well, we have one more slide with just a quick connection opportunity with the marketing group if you're not already participating on it to join us. Our next meeting is on Friday, November 11th. At 11 a.m. and you'll have to reach out to Neil if you're not already on the group list so he can add you. But please feel free to reach out to either one of us. And thank you guys so much for your engagement and interaction.
Well,
yeah, it was you guys made it a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks for putting together such a great presentation. I'm sure everybody here was glad they stuck around for this one.
I hope so.
And I hope somebody tweeted it because I didn't have a chance. But maybe
a few people did, it looks like. Mariano did, for sure.
Well,
thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Trisha.
you.
Thanks, Neil.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.